I found the credit card statement on the kitchen counter, and my hands started shaking before I even finished reading the first line. $4,700 in 2 weeks, all at Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and restaurants I'd never heard of. My wife Jennifer hadn't worked in 3 years. We had one checking account, one savings, one Visa. Everything transparent, everything shared. Or so I thought. I stood there in our Arlington, Virginia kitchen, the one we'd renovated 2 years ago, staring at transactions dated the day before, and something in my chest just cracked open. "Hey babe, you home?" Jennifer called from upstairs. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My mouth had gone completely dry. I looked at the card again, flipped through the statement, looking for some explanation that made sense. Restaurant charges in Bethesda, Whole Foods in Falls Church, a liquor store on Wilson Boulevard, all of it within a 5-mile radius of our house, all of it recent, all of it hidden. But that's not where this story starts. That moment, that sick, electric moment of discovery, that's not the beginning. That's the moment everything I'd built came apart. The real story started 3 years earlier, before the lies, before the money started disappearing, before I realized I was living with someone I didn't actually know. 3 years ago, everything was perfect. I mean genuinely, almost embarrassingly perfect. I'm Michael, 38, financial analyst at Deloitte, Georgetown MBA, 6-figure salary plus bonuses. My dad always said I was the type who'd make something of myself, and I guess I proved him right. The house in Arlington was a 1970s colonial we bought for $890,000 and spent another $200,000 renovating. Hardwood floors, granite counters, a screened-in back porch where we'd have people over for cookouts. The kind of place where life looks like those magazines at the doctor's office. Jennifer was incredible. Still is, I guess, but in a different way now. I met her at a Georgetown mixer in 2019. She was studying marketing, came from money, had that easy confidence that people who grew up comfortable tend to have. She was gorgeous, yeah, but that's not what hooked me. It was the way she laughed, unguarded, like she actually thought things were funny instead of just performing the laugh. She wore this green dress that night, and she had her hair up, and when she smiled at my stupid joke about the economics department, I knew I was going to marry her. We got engaged after 2 years. I proposed at the Kennedy Center, had a private box, brought her parents, the whole thing. She cried happy tears. We got married at the Ritz-Carlton in Pentagon City in June 2021, 6 months before our first anniversary of meeting. 240 guests. Her mother, Linda, spent $60,000 on the flowers alone. My mother, Karen, kept saying it was too much, but she was happy for us. Everyone was happy. We both had good jobs back then. Jennifer made decent money in marketing, maybe $75,000 a year at a tech startup in Reston. We talked about me getting promoted, her maybe going for an MBA too. We talked about kids in 5 years, maybe a bigger house in McLean. We talked about real things, the way couples do when they're planning a future together. Then, in October 2021, Jennifer got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but we were thrilled. Well, I was thrilled. She was excited too, or at least she seemed excited. She quit her job in her 2nd trimester, completely her choice. I supported it 100%. We had enough saved. My salary was solid. My 401k was healthy. We were going to be fine. Our son Ilya was born in May 2022, 8 pounds, 3 ounces, and when they put him in my arms, I actually understood why people talk about their kids being the best thing that ever happened to them. I'd been skeptical before, thought it was cliché, but Ilya was real and perfect, and he was ours. Jennifer stayed home with him, which made sense. Child care in Northern Virginia runs $2,000 a month minimum. Her staying home just made financial sense. She was an amazing mother, patient, attentive, always doing those developmental activities you read about on mom blogs. She'd send me videos during the day of Ilya learning to roll over, then crawl, then walk. I'd watch them at my desk and just smile like an idiot. We settled into a rhythm. I'd leave for work at 7, come home at 6. Jennifer would have dinner ready. She'd taken up cooking, actually gotten really good at it. We'd eat together. I'd spend time with Ilya, help with bedtime routines, and then we'd have the evening to ourselves. She'd tell me about her day with the baby, the funny things he'd done, the milestones. I'd tell her about work drama, budget meetings, the usual office nonsense. We'd watch shows on the couch, have sex maybe twice a week. It was normal. It was good. Her parents helped out a lot. Linda would come over on Saturdays and take Ilya for a few hours so Jennifer could get a break. My parents lived in Bethesda. They'd visit on Sundays. Everything felt like the kind of life people aspire to, the kind of life that makes sense in a Christmas card. Then, sometime around Ilya's second birthday, things shifted. Nothing dramatic. Nothing you could point to and say, that's when it changed. It was more like a slow fade, the way a light dims gradually so you don't notice until suddenly it's dark. Jennifer started going out more. She joined a mom group that met at a coffee shop in Bethesda. That seemed fine. She deserved to get out of the house, talk to other adults. Then she joined a fitness class on Tuesday and Thursday mornings and a boutique gym in Falls Church. That was great. She was taking care of herself, getting back in shape after the pregnancy. I encouraged it. But somewhere in there, things got quieter. She stopped telling me as much about her day. When I'd ask, she'd give short answers. Oh, nothing much. Ilya and I went to the park. We met some friends for lunch. Which friends? I didn't ask. I should have asked. I was working hard. There was this big restructuring at Deloitte, new clients, new projects. I was putting in 50, sometimes 60-hour weeks. I got promoted to senior manager in October 2023, which came with a nice raise. We celebrated with a dinner at Chez Jean-Pierre in D.C., just the two of us. Her parents watched Ilya. Jennifer looked beautiful that night. She seemed happy. But when we got home, she didn't want to have sex. She said she was tired. And then the next week, same thing. And the week after that. It became the new normal. I didn't push it. I figured she was just stressed, or maybe her hormones were still adjusting post-pregnancy, even though it had been over 2 years. I read an article about how some women lose their sex drive after having kids. I accepted it. I stopped asking as many questions. I stopped paying attention to the little details. I was focused on work, on the promotion, on making sure we had the financial security our growing family needed. I thought I was doing the right thing. Ilya was the bright spot. He was 3 now, talking in full sentences, smart as anything, funny in that unpredictable way that only kids are. He'd follow me around the house, asking a million questions. Daddy, why is the sky blue? Daddy, do bugs sleep? Daddy, why can't I have candy for dinner? I loved those moments. I loved being his dad. But there was something off with Jennifer, something I couldn't quite name. She'd be on her phone more. She'd leave the room to take calls. When I'd ask who it was, she'd say, just my mom, or just Lindsay from the mom group. I believed her. I wanted to believe her. Then, one Tuesday afternoon in late November, I got a notification on our joint credit card. It was just a random fraud alert system thing, the bank flagging an unusual transaction. A charge at a restaurant in Bethesda for $360. I thought it was weird, so I texted Jennifer. Hey, did you go to Tabla in Bethesda today? She texted back almost immediately. No, why? Got a fraud alert. Weird. Oh, that's probably my mom. She might have borrowed the card. I'll ask her. I let it go. Linda was always borrowing things, offering to pick things up. That made sense. I didn't think about it again. But then 2 days later, another charge. Then 3 more the following week, all at restaurants, all in Bethesda or Falls Church. And when I'd ask Jennifer about them, she'd get defensive. I don't know, maybe it's fraud. We should probably call the bank. But she never actually called the bank, and she never seemed that concerned about it. That's when I started noticing other things, like how she'd suddenly get dressed up to go to the gym. Full makeup, nice clothes, not gym clothes. Like how she'd be gone for 4 hours on a Tuesday morning and say she was at her mom's house. But when I casually mentioned something to Linda at Sunday dinner, Linda said, "Oh, Jennifer hasn't been over here in weeks." My stomach started doing this thing, this nervous, twisting thing. But I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband who doesn't trust his wife. So I pushed it down. I told myself there was probably an explanation. Maybe Linda forgot she'd visited. Maybe the makeup was just because she wanted to feel good about herself. Then came the cash thing. Ilya and I were in the kitchen on a Saturday morning in December, making pancakes. He was standing on a step stool next to me, helping by stirring the batter very seriously. Jennifer was upstairs getting ready. I needed a piece of paper to write down something, so I opened the junk drawer by the refrigerator. That's where I found it. An envelope, pushed way in the back behind the takeout menus and expired coupons. It was manila, not sealed, and inside was cash. I'm talking $1,500 in 20s and 50s. Crisp bills, like they'd just come from an ATM. My hands went cold. "Daddy, you're not stirring," Ilya said, tugging on my sleeve. "Right, buddy, sorry." I stared at the cash. $1,500. In our junk drawer, hidden. Why would Jennifer hide cash? Why wouldn't she just use the credit card? Or tell me about it? I put it back exactly where it was, closed the drawer, and finished making pancakes. But I couldn't taste them. Ilya kept talking, telling me some story about his friend Marcus at preschool, and I was nodding and saying, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. That afternoon, Jennifer went to her fitness class. I watched her leave in her yoga pants and her cute top, and I realized I didn't actually know where she was going. I'd never asked for the name of the gym. I'd never looked up the address. I just accepted it. When she came back 2 hours later, her hair was wet, like she'd showered there. She smelled like someone else's expensive shampoo, not the Pantene we bought at Target, something fancier, something I didn't recognize. "Hey," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "Ilya asleep?" "Yeah, 20 minutes ago." "Good. I'm going to take a quick shower and then maybe we can watch something?" I nodded. She went upstairs. I sat on the couch and stared at the TV without turning it on. And that's when the real questions started, the ones I'd been avoiding. Where was the $1,500 coming from? Why was she hiding it? Who was she at the gym with? Why did she smell like someone else's shampoo? And most importantly, why was my wife suddenly a stranger? I started following her. It was a Tuesday, mid-January, and I called in sick to work. I'd never done that before, not in 12 years at Deloitte. My boss texted asking if I needed anything. I didn't respond. I sat in my car 3 houses down from ours and watched Jennifer get Ilya ready for preschool. She dropped him at the Montessori place on Lee Highway at 8:15, like always. But instead of going to her fitness class, she drove to a Starbucks in Falls Church. I parked 2 spots over and watched through the window as she met a man. He was tall, maybe early 40s, with the kind of expensive casual look that screams money. Linen shirt, Rolex, hair that cost more than my mortgage payment. They sat in the corner booth. He kissed her on the cheek. She laughed, that unguarded laugh I remembered from our early days, the one I hadn't heard in years. I took 3 photos with my phone, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped it. They sat there for an hour. He touched her hand across the table. She didn't pull away. At one point, she leaned in close and whispered something that made him smile. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Cash, I could tell by the thickness. He slid it across the table. She looked around nervously, then put it in her purse. The $1,500. That was just the start. I followed them when they left. She drove to a hotel, the Fairfield Inn on Gallows Road. My stomach actually lurched. He checked in. She went to the bathroom. They went upstairs together. I sat in the parking lot for 2 hours. I could have gone inside. I could have confronted them. I could have done a lot of things. Instead, I just sat there, staring at nothing, trying to understand how my life had become something I didn't recognize. When she came back down, alone, 45 minutes later, her hair was messed up. Her lipstick was gone. She was wearing his shirt under her jacket. I drove home before her. I picked up Ilya from school like nothing was wrong. He talked about what he'd learned, something about letters and sounds. I nodded and smiled and felt like I was dying. That night, Jennifer came home at 5:30, apologizing for being late. "The gym class ran over," she said. "Sorry, babe." I looked at her. This woman I'd married. This woman I'd built a life with. This woman who was currently wearing another man's cologne under her clothes. "It's fine," I said. "Hey, I got you something." She looked surprised. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos. Not all of them, just the one of her and him at the Starbucks, his hand on hers, her laughing. The color drained out of her face. "Michael, I can explain." "Who is he?" "His name is David. I don't care what his name is. How long?" She didn't answer. That was the answer. How long? "Since September," she whispered. September. 4 months. 4 months of lies, of hidden cash, of fitness classes and mom group meetings. 4 months of me working 60-hour weeks to provide for a family that didn't actually exist anymore. "Is it serious?" I asked, even though I didn't want to know. "Michael, is it serious?" She nodded. Barely perceptible, but she nodded. I walked out of the room. I went into the garage, sat on the concrete floor next to my car, and I cried. Not the kind of crying where tears just leak out. The kind where your whole body breaks, and you can't breathe, and you wonder if you'll ever feel normal again. Ilya called for me from inside the house. "Daddy! Daddy, where are you?" I wiped my face and went back in. He was standing in the kitchen, confused, looking between me and Jennifer. She was crying too, but silently, the way women do when they're trying not to let their kids see them fall apart. "Daddy's just tired, buddy," I said, picking him up. "Let's go watch cartoons, okay?" He wrapped his arms around my neck, and I held him like he was the only real thing left in the world. Because he was. That night, after Ilya was asleep, Jennifer and I had the conversation that destroyed everything. "I love him," she said. We were sitting in the living room, as far apart on the couch as we could get. Those 4 words. I love him. "You love him?" "Yes." "You love him more than you love your son?" Because that's what this is. You're risking Ilya's life, his stability, his family for, what, a guy you've known for 5 months? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Jennifer? Explain it to me. Because I'm genuinely trying to understand how you can lie to me every single day, sneak around, take money that we earn together, and say you love someone else. She was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "I'm not happy here. I haven't been happy for a long time." Then you talk to me. You say, "Hey, I'm not happy. We need to work on this." You don't go find some rich guy and let him buy you, and he didn't buy me. Then what do you call the $1,500? What do you call the cash in the drawer? What do you call the hotel rooms? She flinched. He was helping me. Helping you with what? With feeling alive, with feeling like I mattered, with feeling like something more than just a mom and a wife. I laughed. I actually laughed, and it sounded insane even to me. "Jennifer, you mattered. You matter. To me, to Ilya, to everyone who loves you." I didn't feel like it. And there it was, the real truth, underneath all the lies. She didn't feel valued. She didn't feel seen. And instead of telling me that, instead of giving me a chance to fix it, she'd gone and blown our entire life apart. "I want a divorce," I said. The words just came out. I wasn't even planning to say them. She started sobbing then, the kind of crying that's all gasping and desperation. "Michael, no. We can work through this. I'll end things with David. It's too late for that. You made your choice." I called my best friend Brandon that night. He came over at midnight with a bottle of whiskey and sat with me in the garage while I told him everything. He didn't say much, just listened. When I finished, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "We're going to get you through this." The next day, I called a divorce attorney. Her name was Patricia Chen, and she was recommended by a colleague at work. I went to her office in Arlington, and I laid out everything. The affair, the hidden money, the lies, the hotel receipts I'd started collecting. "You have documentation?" she asked. "Photos, dates, bank statements showing cash withdrawals." "Good, that helps. Do you want primary custody?" "Of course I want primary custody. He's my son." She nodded, typing notes into her computer. Virginia is a no-fault divorce state, so the affair technically doesn't matter legally. But it can be relevant if there are questions about parenting ability or if there's evidence of financial impropriety. The cash withdrawals are interesting. Has she been taking money without your consent? It's our joint account, but yes, she's been systematically withdrawing cash that she's been giving to this guy. That's marital waste. We can use that. The good news is, you're the primary earner, you have stable employment, and you have no history of abuse or neglect. You're in a strong position for custody. Strong position. That was the understatement of the year. 2 days later, Jennifer moved in with her mother. Linda called me, her voice tight. "What did you do to my daughter?" "What did I do?" "Your daughter was having an affair and lying to my face every single day. She's vulnerable. She was struggling with postpartum depression, and instead of supporting her, I supported her. I worked 60-hour weeks. I paid for everything. I was a good husband, Linda." "She says you were emotionally unavailable." "Of course she does. That's what people say when they've been caught. It's easier than admitting they made a choice to betray someone." Linda hung up on me. I had Ilya full-time now. Jennifer got him on alternating weekends and 1 evening a week. The court order was in place by mid-February. I got the house. I got primary custody. I got everything except my marriage. But here's the thing. Nobody tells you about winning in a divorce. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like you lost anyway, just in a different way. I came home from work one Thursday in late March to find Ilya sitting in his room, quiet, not playing, not watching cartoons, just sitting on his bed, holding a stuffed elephant that his mom had given him. "Hey, buddy, you okay?" "Why does Mommy live at Grandma's house now?" I sat down next to him. This was the conversation I'd been dreading. "Your mom and I aren't going to be married anymore, but we both love you so much. That's never going to change." "Are you mad at Mommy?" Mad. That was one word for it. Furious. Betrayed. Devastated. Furious some more. "I'm not mad at you. And your mom isn't mad at you. Sometimes grown-ups make decisions that don't work out, and then they have to make new plans. But you're the best part of my life. That's never changing." He leaned against me and I held him, and I promised myself that no matter what happened, I was going to make sure he knew he was loved, that he was enough, that he was the reason I was getting out of bed every morning and doing the work of staying alive. The divorce was finalized in July. $300,000 in assets split between us, plus child support of $1,800 a month. Jennifer got the car we'd bought her. I kept the house. She got visitation rights. I got my life back, or what was left of it. But David was still in the picture. I found out in August when Ilya mentioned that Mommy's friend had been at Linda's house when he visited. I called Patricia immediately. "That's not a violation," she said. "She can date whoever she wants. The only concern would be if there was evidence that the boyfriend posed a risk to the child." "He's a homewrecker." "He's not legally relevant." So I had to sit with that. Had to watch my ex-wife build a new life with the man she'd cheated on me with. Had to listen to Ilya talk about David in that innocent way kids do, not understanding that David had destroyed his family. But here's what I didn't know at the time. David wasn't new money. David was married. He had a wife, a woman named Susan who worked in real estate, and 2 kids of his own in Maryland. Susan found out about Jennifer through a mutual friend in January. She hired a private investigator. She got photos. She got hotel records. She got everything. David's wife divorced him in April, took him for everything. Custody, the house, 60% of his assets, everything. I read about it in the Arlington Legal Notices section online, and I felt this strange mixture of satisfaction and nothing, like it didn't actually matter anymore. He'd already taken what mattered from me. But then something unexpected happened. In September, Jennifer called me, not texted, called. Her voice was shaky. "David left," she said. "He moved back with his ex-wife. He said he needed to focus on his kids. I'm really struggling, Michael." I didn't respond right away. A year ago, I would have felt something. Vindication, maybe. Satisfaction. But that version of me was gone. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said finally. "Are you? Because it seems like you might be enjoying this." "I'm not enjoying anything about this, Jennifer. None of it. You destroyed our marriage. You lied to me. You risked everything we had. And now you're surprised that the guy you threw it all away for turned out to not be worth it?" I made a mistake. "Yes, you did. Can we talk about maybe trying again?" "No," I said. We can't. That ship sailed. We're going to co-parent Ilya, and we're going to be civil, but we're not getting back together. That life is over. I hung up the phone and I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just sad. Sad for the marriage we'd had. Sad for the future we'd planned that didn't exist. Sad for Jennifer, who'd thrown away something real for something that turned out to be nothing at all. Ilya is 5 now. He's in kindergarten at the Montessori school. He's brilliant and funny and kind. He still sees his mom on weekends, and I don't poison that relationship. He loves her, and he should. She's his mother. But he also knows that his dad is the one who's there, the one who picks him up from school, the one who helps with homework, the one who shows up. I've started dating again. Nothing serious, but there's a woman named Rachel I've been seeing for a few months. She's kind. She makes me laugh. She gets that I have baggage, and she doesn't run away from it. Ilya likes her. He asked if she was going to be his new mommy, and I told him we'd have to see what happens. I don't hate Jennifer anymore. That took months of therapy to get to, but I got here. I understand now that she was struggling, that she was unhappy, that she needed help. What I can't forgive is that she chose to lie instead of asking for it, that she chose to sneak around instead of being honest, that she chose someone else instead of fighting for what we had. Some people say I should have seen the signs. Some people say I should have paid more attention. Some people say I should have been more emotionally available. And maybe they're right. Maybe I could have done better. But nothing justifies what she did. The real lesson I learned isn't about marriage or infidelity or trust. It's simpler than that. You can build the perfect life, the perfect house, the perfect job, the perfect family. You can have everything you thought you wanted. But if the person next to you isn't choosing you every single day, none of it matters. None of it's real. Jennifer chose someone else, and I had to learn to be okay with that. Not because what she did was okay, but because my life, and my son's life, was too important to waste on bitterness. That's the part they don't tell you about divorce. The freedom comes after you stop wanting revenge.